the brother who's going to Tennessee State University for band camp, God bless you. Because they're going to work you hard there, brother. There's no doubt about that. And I also do want to give Jessica kudos for what she said earlier. She made a very interesting comment that they did something during that time that we could not do. I want to touch on some of that today. I was talking to Mr. Killian earlier. He was talking about integration that occurred in South Pittsburgh, and I was a little bit torn about if I should stay on script or go off script. And I'm going to try to stay on script as much as I possibly can. One of the things that I want us to notice about the video is the fact that many of the people that were in that video were in their 20s. They were 20-something people, just graduated from high school. Many of them were the exact same age that you were just 5 or 6 years ago. And I want to ask everyone today to think about what are the limitations that you have, the things that you can't do. And I want to start with a story, particularly from the 1960s. It's the story 1950s. It's the story of Claudette Colvin. Many of you may not know who Claudette Colvin is, but she is a very integral person, particularly in the Montgomery Civil Rights Act. Claudette Colvin was a 15-year-old black female who decided on March 2nd, 1955, she would not get up from her school bus seat from her bus seat to allow a white person to take her seat instead. And I want you to think about that. That happened actually 9 months before Rosa Parks. Rosa Parks didn't sit down until December of 1955. A young person, 15 years old, helped galvanize the Montgomery community to be one of the integral places, I believe the court case is Browder v. Gale, one of the integral places in being integrated through desegregation. This is a 15-year-old. These are people that are your age. Obviously in the video, we had 20-year-olds, as the video pointed out, that were very, very important in causing civil rights to occur in our state capital. So today I want to talk to you about something that's just very, very important in regards to what happened just a few years later in 1963. Last year I had the privilege of going to Washington, D.C. to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the March on Washington. And the reason that was particularly important to me is because I got there early and I was the very first person to get down to the gate. I wanted to be there to honor some of the sacrifice that have been done for me and for others. And that was just one of the little things that I could do, to be the first person there. And one of the important parts of that march was that march was called the March for Jobs and Justice. Jobs, Justice, and Freedom, technically. And in 1964, we passed the Civil Rights Act. We really did, which is a great accomplishment. And as the Civil Rights Act was passed, a lot of the racism that existed in the world by law went away. A great chunk of it went away. But today I want to talk to you about economic empowerment. Some of the other side of the Civil Rights Act that I think is missing and I can see in this room. In 1963, we had the March on Washington. But one of the key aspects of that is that 5 years later, even after the Civil Rights Act was signed in 1964, Dr. Martin Luther King was in Memphis getting shot, fighting for sanitation workers, garbage men, to be able to get a fair paycheck. We passed a law that said that you couldn't do things because someone was white or someone was black. But still, 5 years later, Dr. King is fighting and dying for people to just get a paycheck. And I think that's important for us to think about and realize today, that even today, 50 years later, we're still battling, we're still fighting for that economic empowerment that was supposed to exist 50 years ago. Here's a couple of interesting stories. Who in here knows about Instagram? All right. Who in here knows about Tumblr? All right. Who in here knows how much each of those companies sold for? Just take a guess. Just a couple of guesses. $1 billion? Which company sold for $1 billion? Instagram. How many people worked at Instagram? 2 people worked at Instagram? It was 13 people to be exact. When did the company actually get get started, guys? No. Well, put a year out there. Just put a year on it. What year? 2000, 2007, 2006. Close. That's one of the companies. 2011? Pretty close. We'll just go with that. Roughly in the mid-2000s, roughly, both Instagram and Tumblr got started. Within about 6 years, one of those companies was sold for $1 billion+, with 13 employees. You know, my wife and I were looking up some interesting people recently who were, and I invite you to do this. I really do want you to go to Investopedia.com, Google that, and type in young entrepreneurs. And you'll see just some of the craziest stuff in the world you have ever seen. There is a lady on there, a teenager, who is making according to the website, making $70,000 per month for doing stuff on MySpace. There's a person who is selling jam, and he's grossing $750,000 in sales, and he's a teenager. And the reason I'm talking to you about this today is because locked in this room is the same power that created the Civil Rights Movement. Locked in this room is the same power that created the Civil Rights Movement. And I want you guys and girls to really think about the fact that on the economic side of the Civil Rights Act, there's still some things missing. And you guys are the key to that. I really want you to recognize the fact that you can be millionaires and billionaires in just a brief amount of time, and even think about it beyond Beyonce. How many people know, what is the net worth of Beyonce? How much money is she worth? 300 million, half that, 150 million. How much is LeBron James worth? $4. If you get LeBron James $1, then you got $0.75. It used to be that way. He's worth about $110, $120 million. Now, how many of us can sing like LeBron, sing like Beyonce, or play like LeBron? All right, brother, you do both? All right, excellent. Do you think that you have the capability to do what the Instagram guy did? Instagram guys, actually. David Karp was 26 years old. I was tripped out about this. He started the company in his mom's apartment. In his mom's apartment. How many of y'all live in houses in here? Y'all can do the same thing. He sold the company at 26 for over $1 billion. Using his mom's internet. Feeding off her food. Living off her life. And the reason I'm talking to you today, and I'm on a pitch here, so I can't talk long. One of the key pieces of advice that was given to me when I was at his General Assembly, and it didn't lock into my head, but it's a very important piece of advice for you today, is that you should do it before bills, babies, and mortgages. If you're going to try to be successful, do it while you're on somebody else's dime and time. Do it while you're sitting in school and you got nothing better else to do. Do it while your mama is feeding you, okay? Because it's hard to do some things when you're trying to pay the bills. Does that kind of make sense? I mean, all these guys, they did this in their 20s before they encompassed an incredible amount of responsibility. And that's something, and think about this, I'm not asking you guys to sit anywhere and have somebody beat you up. I'm not asking for you guys to put your life on the line. I'm not asking for you guys to get hit by water hoses, like in the videos that you've seen over and over again. I'm just asking you to take this summer, right now, to do something. Don't sit at home and not do anything. Let me give you a for instance. A good example is this. Decades ago, and a great example is Judge Collier, who's going to be our speaker tomorrow. Judge Collier grew up on a farm in eastern Arkansas. I've had the privilege of going through that town. There's not much there. All of the kids in his eastern Arkansas town were about your age, looked like you, the whole nine, just decades ago. But imagine what they were doing about this time right here. What do you think they were doing? Where were they working at? On the fields. Were they getting paid big money in the fields? Were they getting paid? Were they getting paid big money though? Were they making Beyonce cash? Were they making Facebook cash? Do you have the ability to do that while you're sitting here right now? How many of you are working in the fields? How many of you, how many of you even seen cotton, let alone picked it? You people pray, okay, we got a few people. Look at the opportunity that you have over prior generations before you. Literally sitting here right now, you can do more than even they did in the video. You've got more opportunity. You've got more advantages than they did just a few decades ago. And all you've got to do is just lock in and fight. Keep on going, which I'm going to bring forward a couple of points and then close pretty quickly. One of the key things, and when I was going through my notes and thinking about this, I wanted to call it the 10-year challenge, particularly the 10-year challenge of the economic generation of the Civil Rights Act. The reason I wanted to call it that is because if you look at your life now, most of you are teenagers. And so in about the 10-year period or so, you're going to be in your mid-20s, which is the age of those gentlemen who I quoted earlier, okay? If you, starting today, right now, take the time to just focus on your economic empowerment and put your energy and efforts into that for the next 10 years, where do you think you're going to be? Terrell's going to be a billionaire. He'll be, I'll let that go. But even think about that though. If you just start right now and just, while you're in high school, when you go home today, instead of playing a video game, instead of hitting around on Facebook, instead of talking with your friends, instead of maybe not wanting to be here right now, if you think about the fact that from today, July 7th, 2024, I can be one of those guys, what do you think you're going to be? What do you think you're going to do? That's one of the key aspects is time. The time is now. You guys have the ability right now to be incredibly successful people. Please tell me a reason why you cannot be successful. I'll call you a liar. You have the ability to do it right now. Another key aspect of success, particularly in the economic generation of civil rights, is just good old-fashioned grit and determination. You've just got to keep fighting. You've got to keep going. I'm telling you, success comes with failure. Unless you're the luckiest person on earth. You're going to not succeed sometimes, but that doesn't mean that you have to quit. Quitters are not good people. Keep moving forward. Hear me? Success is incredibly attached to determination. Some people call it stick-to-itiveness, guts, delayed gratification. Who in here plays sports? All of them, okay. Who in here quits after the first mile or the first sprint? Okay. How good do you think you are compared to someone who doesn't quit after the first mile? Do you think they're going to beat you? Do you think they're going to be more successful than you? So remember, friends, you've got one key aspect right now. You've got time on your side before babies and mortgages and love and all that stuff starts to hit you guys. Right now is the time for you to lock it in and be ready to go moving into the future. Determination, that's just that internal grit, that internal gut that you develop as time goes on, that you just want to keep hitting something no matter what happens, over and over and over again. As a final aspect of just success in general, particularly in the economic era of civil rights, I want to talk about friends, not just your Facebook friends, but who that you come in contact with. This was a good piece of advice that was given to me that I did not necessarily follow in my life, to my regret. Again, at General Assembly, a person gave me a good piece of advice that you should keep up with the people, the contacts that you make throughout life. Because you never know where life's going to go. So much of this life, so much of business is determined by people. If you don't have the right friends, or if you have the right enemies, you will not go very far in life. And you can't just meet somebody one time and expect to call them 10 years later and ask for a favor. Working those contacts, being around people, staying involved in their life is one of the key aspects to success, because people are sometimes the grease that oils the wheels
to your foundation.